the company that I work with is Pamba. We focus a lot in providing business management solution for small businesses.
Nail salons, the massages, all of these different companies that offer beauty services.
In terms of managing inventory, the client and appointment scheduling.
How does one move from being a content moderator to web development and
more of interest, the technical skills that I had.
When did you found your company?
It is less than a year old, so that is last year in August.
How many employees do you have now?
Right now I have like 10 employees.
Hi everybody, I'd like to welcome you to the Nairobi Gold Rush podcast, where we're talking with entrepreneurs, tech leaders, lots of different people from the community about their journey of entrepreneurship in Nairobi. I'm Scott, your host. I'm a podcaster. I'm the Chief Technology Officer for Safeboda, a large ride-hailing app here in East Africa. And today we have Rachael Shitanda?
Yes.
Shitanda with us? Rachael Shitanda with us. She is a lady boss, a CEO in the community. And so we're glad to have Rachael with us.
Thank you so much.
Yes. So, Rachael, just to start out with, do you want to talk us through your current company, what your company is, and what you're currently doing?
So, the company that I work with is Pamba, Pamba.Africa. That's our URL. So, we focus a lot in providing business business management solution for small businesses in wellness, that is salons and barbershop, in terms of managing inventory and also in terms of also managing the client and appointment scheduling. So we are building a solution for Africa, and we are focused on small businesses in Africa.
So that's a pretty big job to be the CEO of this company. Yeah. Maybe just start out telling us where you came from. Where did you grow up? Where did you, how did you start life in Kenya?
Well, I think I've lived in so many places, but I was born in Meru, raised in Mombasa for a long time. I've gone around because my parents were actually people that worked in the government and they had to move around. But generally, I've just been that kid in Africa that just enjoys being a child and grew up very well. I also was fortunate enough to go to university and do computing as my undergrad. And from there, I've grown a bit in terms of my career as a software developer and grew to other ventures until I was able to run a business like Pamba.
Sure. And as you were going through this technology journey, I guess you've had a lot of different positions as you've grown. Maybe you want to tell us a little bit about, some of your histories, the different companies you've worked with.
Okay. I think I started off as a content moderator for Glassdoor and Summer AI. Yeah. So we used to moderate content in terms of what can be on the social media, what can be on the websites and stuff like that.
Yeah, sure. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about that, because it's a big kind of controversy I've seen in the news in Kenya recently about content moderators on Facebook, that they've been forced to watch like a lot of bad videos of people dying. And I guess with Glassdoor, it wasn't that crazy, right? You weren't looking at those type of things necessarily?
Yeah. I think I didn't experience that. I would be very biased if I say it was my experience, but it wasn't. It was a very good job. For a first job, it was really nice out of college. But from there, I felt I needed a bit more of a challenge in terms of my capabilities, and I needed to grow a bit. So I moved to another company called Adrian Kenya, where I was a software developer, and also grew internally to products design, where I used to develop solutions in terms of business, specifically for IT and infrastructure projects.
How does one move from being a content moderator to web development and these crazy tech things?
I think it's more of interest, and also it's more of the technical skills that I had. Apart from that, I took that as my first job. I still wanted to be a software developer of something which I went to school for. So I had to pursue that side.
Where did you go to university?
I went to Presbyterian University in Kikuyu.
Yeah. And you studied the software engineering. Did you have a certain specialty? Were you
computer science, to be specific?
Yeah.
So it was general. I didn't major specifically maybe in mathematics, I did purely computer science.
Okay.
Yes.
And how did you find it? Was it like a challenging thing to do, or you naturally kind of came to it?
Well, I loved it. I think I have always loved mathematics and reading. And so for me, it was more of just doing something that I enjoyed doing. I think people say it's difficult. I have to say it's not easy, but if you have an interest and you love doing something, you put work to it, and you finally achieve something good for yourself.
Nice. And as you were kind of growing in your career, when would you say the first side hustle or hustle that you found that you wanted to be like an entrepreneur, like a CEO with your own business, or did that come with your business you have now?
I think where I realized that I could run a business and be good at it was when I was working in Dar es Salaam for a company called Pamba Tech telecommunication company. I was a group head of product and brand positioning for the company. Mm-hmm. And I think I felt out of the experiences of the work and the kind of responsibilities that I had, I felt I could actually do it. And that's when I started, we started the company with some of my partners in Kenya after coming from that job. So it was more of the growth. The growth needs to be there. You need to get roles that are on the same level to what you want to achieve for you to understand the responsibilities.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And so I guess you at some point decided that it might be better to work for yourself or be the CEO versus working for these other companies. Is that correct?
I wouldn't say that there's much difference, because with every role, even if it's something that you're leading, you need a lot of discipline. There's people who are also putting you into account in terms of performance. So it's more of you doing something that you feel like can impact the community, something that you resonate with in terms of a problem you faced. So a problem in terms of maybe being inconvenienced in terms of your work and your schedule just because you cannot align with the service provider. But in terms of working as a CEO and also working for other companies, I just feel it's the shift is just the location and the role, but everything remains the same. You need to be very focused with the business.
Sure. And maybe tell us a little bit more about your company. Like when did you found your company?
So the company was founded, it is less than a year old. So that is last year in August.
And in terms of, as you're starting the company, how many employees do you have now?
Right now I have like 10 employees, 6 who are permanent employees, software developers. I have marketing team. I have people in the media that are just focused on looking for business, customer acquisition, data analysts, backend developers. So it's more of a very lean group, but it's working for us. We've been able to do good things.
So as your background in computer science and programming, when you started the company, were you doing coding at all initially, or were you just like, I'm going to be the CEO and I'm going to hire these guys to be the programmers?
So I actually didn't start off coding. I started off more on the business side of the project, right? Yes. More of validating our idea. Like, it was very important for us to make sure that we're actually solving a problem and a problem that can actually bring in revenue for us. And I was focused on a lot in terms of coming up with product requirements. So my role was mostly on product management and trying to bring every idea that the stakeholders had and the team into paper, and also to translate it to everyone else.
Very nice. And so I understand your product is around the beauty industry, the nail salons, the massages, all of these different companies that offer beauty services. Tell us a little bit about the application and what it does for your customers.
So the application is generally for business management. It's a SaaS product, a software as a service product, focused on just giving business owner a walkthrough through their business and their journeys, and trying to see how they can manage their business effectively. One, in terms of inventory management, which is a very big challenge in the beauty industry, trying to see what is coming in, what is going out, and what is needed. Another thing is terms of staff management. How is their performance in terms of revenue? Are they meeting their targets? Are they bringing in money? Is there a certain service that we are offering that is not being highlighted more in terms of market insights? What should we market more? Who are our segments? Who are the people that are looking for us? So we're trying to build a solution that will give the end users an insight about how their business are performing, about who they're speaking to, managing their inventory, managing their calendar in terms of the client, managing their finances, also trying to see analytically how their business is performing over years, over a certain period of time. So it's more of a management system that is all-rounded.
How did you realize there was a need for this product? How did you it seems like an interesting product I would have never thought of. How did you come up with that idea?
Yeah, I think it just stems to personal experience of how you wake up in the morning, you have scheduled yourself to go to a salon, you need to have your hair done, you go there, and then because there is lack of systematic ways of managing the clients, you end up either waiting for too long or not getting the service, or maybe the person who is supposed to do that is not available. So there is challenges in terms of waiting or the wait time. Why would a business make their client wait for too long just in their premises doing nothing? And they could easily schedule this person to either come at a specific time when this service provider will be free to do the service. Also, it stems also in other things that resonate with our clientele, which is one, revenue projections, and also revenue shares, and how they're able to forecast that. It's very hard for businesses that don't have solutions to forecast that.
Sure. I'm kind of curious about the exact target audience that you have, because I think in salons or barbershops, there's quite a range of different places, from the guy who is doing the head shaving place on the side of the road to, these big fancy salons. Who's kind of the main target that you're looking at here?
I think for a product is very, very accommodative to many businesses. Mm-hmm. One, if you have your own mobile phone. So even the barber shop who has a side business with just one seat, they're able to have the product for themselves, because one, they'll be able to schedule appointment very easily, or even use the metrics in terms of the business side, the analytics, inventory to keep check in terms of how the business is performing. So big businesses, big salons, big spas, big clinics, wellness clinics, gyms also are taking an interest on our product. So we are also looking at incorporating a lot in terms of these services in our product. So it's able to cater for all these things, gyms, clinics, and everything. But then we are also building and refining it to suit different market segments. So every market segment is catered for, small and big.
And does that kind of determine whether you're doing maybe development on the web or versus on a mobile app? Like, how is your platform? Is it mainly an app-based, or is it something you use through the browser?
So we have a mobile app that we are finishing in terms of development. So the mobile app is there. We also have the web app. So the web app is very accessible. You can go to pamba.africa and you're able to sign up very easily. At the moment, we are giving free trials for businesses. So it's a high time for businesses to take advantage of a product on its initial stages and get a very good product for a half, or a very high valued product for a half or for no cost. So it will be available in iOS and also Android. So this product is generally for everyone. So we do a web-based, which is mainly focused on businesses that have, maybe on the front office, you have a desktop and you can just open the web-based application. You also have a phone you can open on your phone, your tablet. So it's very accessible on all gadgets.
So maybe the app would be good for the guy who's just running the one chair on the, and his own business, make it very easy for him because he's not going to have the computer and everything.
Yeah, they don't need to to incur cost of buying a computer or a tablet. They can always use it on their mobile phone. Very user-friendly and interactive as well.
Yeah, that seems very good. And I can see there's a real need there because often you go to the salon. I mean, I don't go to the salon that often. I can tell you some stories about different things there, but I usually would maybe go to the guy to get my hair cut, and even then, they don't know if they're available or the guy's not here. So I think it could be a very good service to keep the business moving and keep those owners engaged. I usually, though, it's interesting. I don't think of like beauty and tech necessarily mixing together. I worked with a lot of tech guys, and they're always not so put together. How has it been as like the developers you get? Do they understand like what you're trying to do and relate to the salon owners?
I think the biggest challenge has been to I know also you as a CTO, you have the same challenge, trying to interpret the user's needs and resonate with the empathic path of developing a product as a user, putting yourself as a user, versus being a developer. Having the two minds is a bit of a constraint. So you need to have, that's why I have UX designers and developers, so that they can also align in terms of the team and tell them the need of having this, and this button needs to look like this. This will not. So there is a big challenge in terms of aligning.
Making sure that developers understand how the lady at the salon is going to operate and understand
how they think and the operations, interpreting the day-to-day operations of a salon to a product. And most, not everyone goes to the salon. So there's a bit of that. But I think with time, in terms of research and how we've been able to engage different businesses, they have come to understand, also learn this how the solutions should flow. So
I feel like if you take a tech guy into the salon and say, here's a hairdryer, they'd say, is this working on Python, or what's the API to connect this hairdryer? And you really have that hard time connecting in between the two. Well, that's very interesting. Have you had any interesting experiences with clients from the salon that maybe like any kind of weird requests that they have for you, or any kind of strange things interpreting what you're trying to sell?
So I think one of the things that clients are trying to, they know they have a problem, but because they have not maybe had a similar solution, or someone approached them with a similar solution, there is a bit of, I think with the current things in terms of security and everything, there is a bit of a highlight on how secure your systems are, how secure is it for me to put my client's information in your application. It's a web solution, is it whatnot. So there is a high, you have to say like the society is very highly informed in terms of security now, and they're very keen. So they start. And I have to say our solution is quite very well put together in terms of security and how we package our solutions and how we have secured our systems. But it's very interesting to meet clients that have that mindset, and you know, those are small businesses.
Sure.
So maybe when you're creating the personas, you wouldn't think to put that as one of the characters of a very informed client base, but it's very interesting to talk to business owner and how they're very keen in securing their information.
That is very interesting. I wouldn't typically think of a salon owner being really worried about cybersecurity.
Yeah.
I guess maybe if you have a fancy salon and you have celebrities or people that come to your salon, maybe it's very important that you don't leak the client list or this person, here's how they have their hair done, or maybe I guess it could be very sensitive information.
Yeah, very interesting, and posed a very good outlook for me in terms of where we are headed and how informed the society is. So it was very interesting to engage with business owners on the journey. And even now, it's very interesting. There are always very new things coming up, but that was mostly the highlight of the entire
something
thing.
Interesting that you see. I've lived in Kenya for 11 years now, but I used to work for so spent some time with the Internal Revenue Service, which collects the taxes in the U.S. when I lived there. So I spent some time working there, and we always had to do a lot of investigations because people would look up the celebrities' taxes. Angelina Jolie, she has this net worth. Here's how much money she made from this movie, and then they would take it and leak. And there was very strict policies. If we would always catch people who would go through these, and they'd have to be sacked immediately because you'd have to be very secure with the information. I'm assuming with the salons, they have to be they have sensitive clients or people that they have to be very watch out for. Yeah. And I guess you are on some other committees or attend some organizations that deal specifically with cybersecurity. Do you want to tell us about that?
So I also I'm very involved in the cybersecurity and policy development frameworks, mostly in terms of internet use and security. So I am in ICANN BC. So we generally sit and discuss and evaluate policies in terms of internet use, in terms of domain use, domain allocation, domain use, and how that affects businesses. So that is one of the places where I contribute. I also contribute in GFCT, the global anti-terrorism organization that mainly focus on security in the web space, mostly on the context of the terror and such content. So mostly moderation of content in terror. Yeah. So I contribute there. I'm also the deputy chair for African ICT Alliance, which sits in Abuja. So mostly still in the same area of specializing in terms of policy in Africa and ICT development in the continent.
On the side of the terrorism and these type of policies, what type of things are you typically looking at? Like, how, if I were to explain this to my parents, let's say, how would I explain what type of things that you do with those policies? Or
so, generally, what I would say if my mom or my dad ask me what I do, I'll say I sit and help develop laws and policies that govern how you use your phone, how you use your website, how you use your domain, and how the domain affects you. So it's generally me sitting and other people to help regulate the internet.
Are there any specific cases that you've seen where maybe a company had to be banned? I don't know how sensitive the topics are, but are there any time when you've had to set a policy like this person has a dangerous website or something that is not going to be allowed in Kenya?
Not specifically in Kenya, but I have to say, like, in terms of the kind of information I speak and where the kind of decisions we make when we sit in ICANN, most of them are very private, and they're not allowed for me to speak in other forums in terms of a specific case of a specific company. Sure. But generally, I would say yes, there have been websites that have had to be taken down or a policy have to be developed because of a certain thing that came up. That is generally what ICT normally brings us for. Like, they're merging things, they make us sit down and rewrite the rules or write new ones.
Yeah, I mean, I come from the U.S. and in the news recently has been like banning of TikTok from from the U.S. Would that be like a typical type of case that y'all might be looking at a policy of a various country coming in and trying to spy on people, or is it more around the traditional terrorists, maybe the Al-Shabaab or different groups that you get to watch out for?
So, like, in terms of terror, in GIFCT, I sit where we develop a database. It's called a hashing database, where we populate it with content that helps other organizations, for instance, that are part of the organization, like their members, in terms of moderating. So all the social medias, all the websites that are interested, that host content and they want to participate, they can always benefit on such things. So they use the database to help them self-moderate content. But in terms of maybe I can say maybe we are not very directly into individual countries' politics in terms of what they're banning, but in terms of regulations, in terms of how domains are sold, how they are acquired, how they are auctioned, who hosts what website is not allowed, because there are always people that find a funny way of breaching the rules, because there are rules, right? So maybe someone is not supposed to use a certain domain name to put a certain product, and then they use that. So part of our work is sitting down and advising, and in terms of that business, maybe it's not supposed to be there, or directing in terms of what to do, because also ICANN reaches out to the BC for advice. So in terms of regulations, we see that a lot. People always find a way to cut corners.
Yeah.